This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, happy to be joined now by Tom Harris from Sam Houston. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy to have you on board. Haven't talked to you before, but certainly have enjoyed some Sam Houston racing over the past few seasons and whatnot. We talked to Martha Clausen last week. She previewed some of the Saturday stakes action. In a few minutes, we'll recap some of those stakes. It was a really nice night down at Sam Houston this past weekend with 4 really good stakes races. And as I say, we'll recap those in a few minutes. Before we do that, however, want to take a look at some of the action for this afternoon. Give us a little heads up what the weather looks like.
Well, I'll tell you what, Seth, it is a picture-perfect day, and I know some of the folks up on the East Coast don't want to hear that, but we're looking at temperatures of up near 70 degrees for today. The track's going to be fast and the turf course firm.
Nice. And I think folks are familiar, you know, a lot of our viewers watch maybe Gulfstream or Tampa or Fairgrounds, certainly Southern California during the winter time. Give us a little idea in your area what you expect for average temperatures in the December, January, February period.
Well, I have to admit, this is probably a shade on the warm side, Seth. We're just having some unseasonably beautiful weather at the moment. In fact, later next week, perhaps towards the end of the week, it's supposed to drop back down into the 50s, which down in these parts, that's chilly.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Where I've lived, that's swimming weather, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We're up here, and that's we're watching you with envy. Believe me. But it is warm enough and seasonable enough that you have turf racing and nice turf racing. We certainly appreciate that, and you had some of that over the weekend that, as I say, we'll get to. But first, let's talk about some of the racing for this afternoon, get some of your opinions. 7th race today is a conditional claimer, 15 tags, non-winners of 4 lifetime. And I always say, when they added these conditions a few years ago across the country, going to maiden special to the non-winners of 2 lifetime, I think made that a much more reasonable leap for a lot of horses. So I like these conditions. But when you get up to N4L, I think that starts to become kind of salty. I think a lot of horses can go through the career and never win 4 races. So I think these are fun, tough races. But in the 7th, they're going to go 6 furlongs. What did you think?
Well, I tell you, it becomes a very competitive, like you say, dash, because you're just a half a step away from just a wide open claiming race, really. And this being a 6 furlong sprint today, we've got some pretty decent horses set to go postward in this one. And you know what I've noticed overall, I'll make this overall comment, we've become kind of a convergent zone of horses, if you will. We've seen horses come from Florida, from the upper Midwest, of course from the bordering states, and out west even. So that even throws a little bit more of a monkey wrench, if you will, into the handicapping, because you've got a lot of horses that have never seen each other before, some riders even that have never seen each other before. So having said that, it's something you certainly have to factor in and try to separate what the actual class levels are. In this race, I kind of lean towards more of a local horse, and that's Show Up Jones. David Cabrera has been a pretty hot hand around here. Randy Mayfield doesn't have many horses, but the ones that he does have, he usually sends them ready to go. So I'm going to keep my eye on Show Up Jones, a horse that's been competing in the optional claiming levels and should fit pretty good here with a decent late-running style.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to the 8th today at Sam Houston. Maiden claimer, 10 tags. These are 3-year-olds. They're going to go a quick 5.5. How'd you see race 8?
Well, here we've got, the maidens set to go postward, and, Randy Mayfield has another one in here with Primal Call, and a lesser-known Ernesto Valdez Jimenez will have the call, but certainly he's a very talented rider, and he's been kind of moving up the ranks here, if you will. So we're going to keep our eye on that one. Brett Davidson has a first-time starter with a bullet work that kind of jumped off the page at me, and that's 10 pins total. Checks in with a 5/8 drill of 59 and 4, and that's a pretty good workout for down here. Alfredo Sigala will have the call, but this maiden race pretty wide open. Vava the Vienne, the 8-horse Lindy Wade, has a horse that can stay pretty close. I don't think he got an honest look in his first race. It was over a sloppy track, and it'll be interesting to see how he does with a cleaner shot on a fast going today.
Sounds good. Let's move out to the 9th today. Speaking of the grass, we're on the grass in the 9th. Optional claimer, 25 tags, non-winners of 2 other than. They're going to go a 1 1/16 on the turf. How'd you see this one?
Well, Seth, these are pretty good horses coming into this race. These are horses that are bouncing between allowance and optional allowance. And you've got a few horses, I think, that step into a good spot. The Churchill Downs arrival, Kara's Nene, for trainer Mark Whitten, I think, is real live in this race. Alfredo Sigala will have the call here. But, Fly the Red Eye is a 7-year-old by Early Flyer, and he's earned well over $200,000. Lindy Wade has the call. And he's done it the hard way. He started 53 times, but he's a specialist when it comes to these allowance contests and these smaller stakes races. Loves the turf. He's won 7 times on the turf out of 33 starts, 9 seconds and 8/3. So I think he's right at home here.
Yeah, and you have to figure Karl Broberg will break through down there, leading trainer in the country last year, and we're showing stats: 12 starts, 1 win at the meet, but 6 times second and third, and you just have to figure Broberg will break through sooner rather than later.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go back and take a look. As noted, really nice card of stakes races last Saturday at Sam Houston. Give us a little idea. Did you have a good crowd down there?
Oh, we had a really good crowd. Nice. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better ladies' classic. 3 horses at the wire. I mean, it was all the races were very good.
All right, and let's go right in order. And I was interested in this Frontier Utilities Turf Sprint, $75,000, 5 furlongs on the turf, because Heitai is a horse that I've been interested in now for a couple of seasons, mostly as we paid attention to fairgrounds, but has bounced around down in that area for the aforementioned Karl Broberg, in fact, and this is a horse that just does very well sprinting, has done it on the turf, has done it on the dirt, and gets it done. We'll watch the stretch run here. It will be number 3, Heitai, getting it done as the 3-2 favorite. Underneath, Hammer the Bay completes the exact at 40-1, and running third, Brilliant Interest, also at 40-1. So a couple of big prices complete the triple in here, but Heitai, the favorite, gets it done as expected.
I got to tell you, I think out of all of the races, that particular race maybe didn't get the fanfare that the Conley and the Classic got, but I was most impressed on the day by Heitai. That was a spectacular performance, and hats off to Hammer the Bay. The local connections come up with a big run, was gaining ground, so Hammer the Bay is moving up the ladder pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that was a nice performance at a big price. All right after that, the Allen's Landing, $50,000 for the 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. Always interesting to watch 3-year-olds at this time of the year. And speaking about, as you say, horses coming in from different locations and notable connections, the winner in this race, number 7, Exodus, at 2-5. And who trains and owns? Larry Jones and Fox Hill Farms, very familiar connection. So to have some of the big names show up down there on Saturday night had to be very compelling, and they get it done with Exodus in the Allen's Landing. Running second will be the number 1, Waging War, as the 5-2 second choice. Third, number 4, Bagpipes, at 9-2. So price-wise, they were 1, 2, 3 as they were favored on the board. But it was a pretty nice performance by Exodus.
Well, and you hit it right on the head when you said connections. A lot of times when you have these horses come together from different locales, a lot of the players, you're looking at all this overwhelming information and trying to match how horses do in other venues, and then how are they going to do in this venue. And so the next best tool in the box is the connections, the jockeys, the trainers. Where are they? What's their roots? And yes, they did a great job with Exodus. That horse certainly lived up to expectation.
Yeah, and we're watching the stretch run right here. And as I say, always fun to watch 3-year-olds at this time of year. And you would have to think with those connections, do they have Kentucky Derby in mind? I don't know, but you would have to think this horse will be popping up in some of the 3-year-old stakes around the country, regardless of whether it's Derby, Trail, or just some of those kind of second-level 3-year-old events. But again, with Larry Jones and Fox Hill Farm, you have to think that this horse will be one we'll be watching as the year progresses. Speaking of a horse, going back to horses watching as they progress, and going back to Heitai, horses that I've liked for a while, similar situation in the Connolly. I've really liked Coalport for a couple of years now. It's Ken and Sarah Ramsey, it's Mike Maker. Again, notable connections down at Sam Houston on Saturday night. And in the John Connolly for a couple of $100,000, grade 3 event on the turf at 1 mile and 1/8. It will be the number 7. Coalport getting it done as the 4 to 5 favorite. Trace Creek, the number 5 horse, runs second for Ken McPeak, and Daddy's Kid runs third in here. But as I say, I've watched this Coalport for a few years now, and just really a game performer. This was the 4th win in a row for this horse. Notable connections with Ken and Sarah Ramsey and Mike Maker. Javier Castellano was slated to ride, didn't make the trip. Miguel Mena on board, but as I say, another nice win to make it 4 in a row for this one.
Well, Coalport took him wire to wire, Seth, in that race, and I think the key to that race was he was able to get away with some awfully relaxed fractions early on. I mean, and there was nobody within reach of this horse from start to finish, and that really unfolded nicely for Coalport. He had a ton of run left over, turning for home, and it would have been fun to see somebody stay a little closer to ensure a more honest pace, but it just didn't work out that way.
And let me ask you that on just a bigger racing question. We just saw him come under the wire and watch the stretch run, and obviously he had plenty in the tank. You mentioned the fractions, and I'll hit on them here. 25 and change, 49 flat, 113 flat, 137 and change. And let me ask you, if you probably watched the game about as long as I have, and I've said it a number of times over the past couple of years. I watch races like this, and as a bettor, I just want to pull my hair out when they let a horse float along, and particularly when you have a quality horse like this. Do you think things have changed over the past 20 years or so as far as jockeys? And for years they talked about the clock in the head. I don't think these young guys have that clock, the old timers do, because you just see this so often. The horses float around on the front end, get no challenge, and then they just have everything they need left in the stretch.
You see that a lot. These horses that get out front, they anchor down, and turning for home, they just got a ton of run left. I'm going to answer your question this way. I grew up out on the West Coast watching the colony that included Bill Shoemaker, Lafitte Pinkai, Chris McCarron, and for a while Angel Cordero and the likes of those. And I guess I'll pose it this way. Do you think those guys would have let that happen?
Yeah, I'm glad you threw Cordero in, because as you were listing yours on the West Coast, I was about to say, when I have Velasquez and Maple and Cordero in there, and it would have been a different situation. So it's frustrating now. And I've had Richard Migliore on the show before, and he talks about how different it was when he started in the game, and you worked on the backstretch, and you worked horses, and the trainer gave you a specific time, and if you were a couple of fifths of a second off on the workout, you'd hear about it. And so they developed differently. So I think it is a little bit of a different game. All right, let's shift our attention now. The Ladies Classic for $400K on Saturday night. They're going 1 mile and 1/16 on the main track. The favorite was Cassatt, and Cassatt gets it done at 3 to 5, the number 8 horse, as we watch the stretch run here. But Angelica Zapata makes Cassatt work for it a little bit as they come to the finish line.
Well, I'll tell you, Cassatt sent away the favorite, as you mentioned, ran a big race. It was a hearty effort, but it turned out in the finish to be really not a standout effort, because you had 2 horses closing. You had 3 horses at the line. A couple more jumps, we got a totally different outcome in that race. Angelica Zapata was closing with a rush. A horse that I was very impressed with, Shannon Nicole, actually bounced off the rail, turning for home, and altered course, and still got within a half length or 3/4 of a length. So that was an exciting race right to the finish. I'd love to see those 3 get together again.
Yeah, and Cassatt, also Larry Jones and Fox Hill, 4-year-old filly, lightly raced too. That was only the 9th career start, 6 wins. I think she's going to be a player in that older filly and mare division, again, given the connections. So it was a really nice, successful day on Saturday at Sam Houston. Congratulations to you and all the folks out there. Tom, before we let you go, I want to touch on the stakes race this Saturday down at Sam Houston. State-bred event for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. It's the Tom Ball for $50,000, 1 mile and 1/16 on the grass. Molly's Honor is in here with a lot of early speed. I Am Jane Doe comes off a nice second-place finish in the San Jacinto. The winner in that race, Expect Royalty, is in the event. Wampus Kitten was 3rd there. So I think you have a nice, full, competitive field in the Tom Ball. What were your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I think this is a fun race every year. This Expect Royally horse is going after her 5th consecutive victory. She's won her last 2 start stakes races, the Fiesta Mile over at Retama. She won the San Jacinto here. The outside post, don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for her because she's a closer anyways. They're just going to, Iram Diego will just take the horse to an inside ground-saving trip. I'm sure that's what he usually does with her, then get her out in the clear down the backstretch, and then I look forward to watching her go. She's a fun horse to watch, and I think we're shaping up for a nice race in the Tomball.
And I'm looking, I don't know whether you know or not, but I'm looking at the trainer-owner, Leroy Pollock, 2014, 7 starts, 3 wins. It looks like this is his only horse.
He does not have a big barn, but I'll tell you, Leroy is another one of those guys. He sends them ready. Whenever he finds a spot, he's there to play. And, I mean, he's going to be a force in this race, and I think he's really got himself a nice mare here.
Yeah, and if you're going to have 1 or 2, I guess to have one that in 13 career starts or in 12 career starts has racked up $120,000, I guess that's the one you want.
I'd rather have one of those than 20 that are not like that one.
Exactly, exactly.